So tell us about funny people.
Yeah, John, try to tell us about funny people.
I mean,
it's actually pretty easy to describe.
It's very easy to describe.
Adam Sandler plays a very famous comedian who finds out he has a terminal illness. But he's your typical lonely celebrity. The love of his life has left his life. He befriends some young up-and-coming comics, especially the one played by
Seth Rogen.
Seth Rogen. I almost said something else. And
I love Seth Rogen.
And Seth Rogen's character becomes Adam Sandler's writer as Adam Sandler decides he wants to end his career by just doing stand-up at small clubs and, big corporate outings. And it eventually leads to Adam Sandler reconnecting with the love of his life. And there you go. That's the general premise of Funny People. And of course, this comes at an interesting point, Kent, in the career of Judd Apatow, the producer
yes, it did.
of this film, because, I mean,
it was all hits.
The early 2000s into the early 2010s was the Apatow decade. You had Anchorman, you had Ricky Bobby, you had Superman, you had Superbad. You had Pineapple Express, you had Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Did you mention Knocked Up in there?
You had Knocked Up, you had 40-Year-Old Version. I mean, it's just non-stop banger after banger after banger. And this kind of comes right in the middle of all that.
And this is what most of those he produced. Some of those he wrote and produced, but this one wrote, produced, directed. And there were only that would be Knocked Up, 40-Year-Old Virgin, and this one in that big run. Those were the three that he did all three on. So, this was his era. This was a box office stiff, by the way. This was not a hit of that era.
No.
This was the one that did not hit. And in part, I think because it almost doesn't follow the Apatow formula, so to speak, right? I mean, to me, two things that depart from that. One is that it feels like it's like two or maybe three movies smashed together into one, right? And that didn't really work for a lot of people like me, where you got this movie about the stand-up comics and this guy trying to, come to the end of his life and all of that. And then all of a sudden it becomes this movie about that relationship with Leslie Mann. And it's like two different movies, and it slowed it way down, number one. And then secondly, it's because they did that, it's 2.5 hours long.
It's too
long. Okay. And that is box office death for a quote comedy.
Yeah, Ken, I remember because I had been seeing the Apatow and then the Rogen movies. I was, Bill Simmons always described it as having season tickets to like an actor or whatever. Like that, I was that person. Seth Rogen has a new movie. I'm going to be there and I'm going to be there on opening night. And so I remember, a few years before that, Adam Sandler would have been that person for me, starting with like the Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore stuff all the way through. I don't know what movie. He would have been my number one guy that I would go. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be awesome. And I remember being so bummed, and just disappointed by it. And, I always thought, Kent, that the Apatow movies are a little too long. I always thought before this one, that was a little I don't care if the movie makes me laugh for a couple hours. I'm happy to hang out with this one though. It's so noticeable. It not only because of the actual runtime, but because of what you mentioned. I should have clocked it when they go to Leslie Mann's house, how long they are there. I forgot that 45 minutes maybe, where they're just staying there with.
Yeah, and this is an overnight stay.
And it turns into how many days, and they're having the change of clothes yet again. So I couldn't remember what I thought about the actual comedy of it. I remember it being a more serious, quote unquote, mature movie. I thought the first half was pretty solid. Like the stand-up jokes as they're trying to work through stuff. I thought that stuff worked fairly well. I thought the back half was. I didn't like the back half at all this time.
Yeah, it drug And you're right, it is a more serious movie, even though it is a comedy. In fact, that was in a lot of people's reviews. This is his most mature film. You know, there's not the usual either cringe or gross out humor that you get in a lot of Apatow movies, and with Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen's character is
he might be like the nicest person in the whole movie.
He's the nicest person in the whole movie, and there's not a whole lot of. I mean,
I
plays.
would friend her so hard.
That was funny.
Yeah, but he's almost not funny because everyone else needs to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's the interactions between his character and Jonah Hill are pretty good. And we didn't even mention Jonah Hill is here.
Jason Schwartzman's there.
Justin Long makes an appearance.
Aubrey Plaza.
And so there's a lot of power here.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, well, not for some reason, I think Kent hit on it. If they would have just stuck with the initial storyline and not and I guess maybe you needed the other storyline because, you know, you need that thing to tug on your heartstring with the romantic connection, but it just felt like it went from one to the next, and we forgot about one and we finished with next.
Mm-hmm.
And
sorry, Ken.
I'll let me and then you. Part of the reason that the dramatic thing doesn't work is that Adam Sandler is not a really good dramatic actor. I mean,
his character's the one that's not.
He did one movie where he was very good in a dramatic role, that Punch Drunk Love movie, which came right around this time. And he got in his head that he could be an actor. And that came to a screeching halt after that Spanglish movie, which was almost
Forgot about that movie.
Adam Sandler as serious actor, but that's what part of what makes the second half of this movie, especially, you just kind of go, yeah, he just is not a very good dramatic actor. He's just not. So
no,
go ahead.
This movie really kind of came down to a pro and con list for me, and I think overall the pros outweigh the cons. But I mean, we've hit on it. It's too long. Way too long. They could have cut out most of that stuff that happened at the house, and it did feel disjointed. The other thing that really gets me is I love all of the. I don't really like Aziz Ansari that much, but most of the comedians in this movie I love. Bo Burnham even had a cameo.
Yeah, Bo Burnham showed up,
and it made me so sad that Bo Burnham didn't really do anything funny. He was just like, "Oh, I'm Bo. Hi." But with the amount of actual funny people in this movie, I just kind of wanted a little more comedy with the drama. And I like dramedies. Is that what we call them?
Mm-hmm.
I like that style of movie, but there were some scenes that felt almost improv, and then they didn't know how to get out of it. So then they just kind of.
And that's a classic, right, of the Apatow movies, Ken, is that, you know, just let the camera roll and let the actors figure out the jokes on the fly.
Like they kind of moved on. There was a few parts of the movie that made me really chuckle, but that part where he made that playlist for Adam Sandler's character, like that cheer up playlist.
Yeah.
And it turned out that the songs were really dark songs about his thing. I didn't know if that was intentional because it felt intentional, but then they did another thing and then he got really introspective with the next song.
Yeah, the last song.
And I felt like that joke wasn't fully fleshed out or finished. They could have acknowledged it a little bit more with that. It had a real opportunity that I feel like was missed. I do like the inclusion of that love interest and that other stuff in general and how the movie ends the way it does, because it does a really good job of showing how messy and weird and how unresolved parts of life can be. And that's a very unique thing I feel like you don't see in movies. Every movie feels like it needs to have a solid ending, resolution, and I don't mind that this movie didn't have a concrete
happy
ending or whatever. It just kind of ended with them talking and laughing. That's fine with me.
Just didn't needed the 45 minutes to get there.
We didn't need the 45 minutes to get there, and I wanted a little more comedy because these are all very funny people.
Well,
exactly.
I think part of it too was, you know, they're all young. The characters they're young in their career, and so they're not, you know, like super great. Like I thought one of the funny running bits was that the Schwartzman character was on a terrible sitcom that everybody recognized that everybody recognized as being garbage, but they were also jealous of. Like, man, he hung out with some real jerk of friends. I forgot, like, right away his friends rubbing the paycheck in his face. He's sleeping on the couch and everything, and they're going after him. So
the first joke in this movie that really I remember getting to me was when they did that hike, and then Schwartzman was talking about his grandfather, and then the candle flickered, but there was no windows.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jonah Hill was like, "You don't pass through fire to get to heaven, dude."
That was a very funny joke.
That whole interaction was really funny, but that's the first time I actually remember getting a decent laugh out of the movie.
How far into the movie?
That's a pretty good way in the movie, at least half an hour.
Ken, do you think that at this point in Apatow's career, because we spent a lot of time talking about it's just not as funny and it's very dramatic, was he feeling himself a little bit, do you think? And he was like, all right, let me see what I can do. I'm going to show you that I can, kind of like Sandler, I can be more than just a comedic guy.
Yeah.
And, like, it's really interesting how the Sandler character, he has a conversation with the Seth Rogen character at one point. He's like, all you talk about is masturbation and farting. He's like, are you trying to get laid? Which is a pretty funny joke from him, given Adam Sandler got famous by talking about those very things, right? And so in hindsight, especially, it's just like Apatow trying to make a movie that he, like, let me see if I can do something different, and obviously he can't.
What I did like about this movie is at the beginning and then peppered throughout the movie, you have these very real home videos and pictures of these actors
pretty cool.
and actresses.
Yeah,
I really liked the inclusion of that because it felt natural, and comedian, perfect. It just slots right in.
Well, it also helped that Apatow and Sandler lived together and so at the very beginning, that scene of doing prank calls was actual footage from actual prank calls that they did.
And then he's still married, I believe, right, to Leslie Mann. And so, like, you're going to have all of her old pictures and footage too that you can lean on as well.
I think you're dead on, Josh, with the Apatow trying to think he was more than he capable of doing this kind of a more serious film, number one, and trying to mix the two and all. And I think it was a little more ambition than he was able to pull off. Secondly, on the comedy, I talked to I've talked to both Jonah Hill and
Rogen.
Seth Rogen. I was thinking, Seth, both, and they talk about, both of them did independently, that in these kind of movies, that they're like, the jokes are kind of written out or thought out before, but if you can think of something better while it's going on, then you improv it. So it's not 100% improv, but it might be idea, actual joke improv. And they say for the actors, the issue was this: you expect the joke that's coming, so you don't lose it right on camera. And they pull something completely out of the blue, right? As opposed to doing a pure improvisation, you're always ready for the improv. Here, you don't know what improv you're going to get, whether it's going to be improv, whether it's going to be scripted, whether it's going to go completely off the rails. And both of them said that. But particularly, it struck me that you could see here that Jonah Hill was going to become how do you want to say? He is now a pretty highly respected actor of all on drama, comedy, everything. You can see elements in that, in his performance of, I can be more than just this funny guy.
The one of the things that was authentic about this was the stand-up material.
Oh, absolutely.
Apatow had Sandler and Rogen and Hill write their own stand-up for their characters, and then they filmed it in front of a live audience. So those are actually, they're performing in front of people who haven't heard the jokes, and it's their jokes. And so when some of them, because there's some, especially with the younger comics, the jokes are kind of falling flat, and they're not totally fleshed out. That was very authentic.
I wonder how hard that has to be, Kent, for them. It's like write jokes that aren't like the best. And so maybe, I don't know, maybe it's easy because they know what a good joke is and what a bad joke is. Like I thought the one of the better scenes of the movie, it comes early. It's right after Rogen and Sandler's characters get connected, and they go to, what was the party that they were at? What
it was
company?
MySpace.
MySpace.
Oh, yeah.
So first of all, hilarious. Like, wow, what a moment in time that it's MySpace. But how Rogen has to do, a few minutes to kill time, and he just takes all of the jokes that he'd already written for Adam Sandler, which are admittedly pretty funny, and then Sandler's pissed about it. Like, I thought that was one of the, again, like the first hour-ish, it's still not my favorite Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen movie, but there's so much more there that I really enjoy versus what happened over the course of the final 45 minutes to an hour.
Honestly, one of the funnier parts of the movie was the cameo by James Taylor at that party, because he had a couple of lines in there. He had one line that was a joke that they were going to do, and I can't repeat the two lines, but it was that was some of the funnier stuff in the movie was James Taylor, because you don't associate James Taylor with what he says.
I did like the Craigslist joke a lot.
That was a great joke.
This movie, so I love stand-up. Growing up, I would record stand-up on my DVR just because it's one of my favorite things. This movie made me, after I was done, want to watch one of my old favorite stand-ups because I wanted to watch something that connected with me more than what they were doing in the jokes. It felt like an appetizer. So I threw on an old Bo Burnham special right after. Also because I'm still mad that Bo Burnham didn't get more.
I mean, Nick, in the movie, in the real life, he's like 19 years old.
I know. I think he was doing a show at that point. He already had a couple specials by then.
Rogen, I talked to him right after this movie, like for his next movie, which was that Get Him to the Greek with Russell Brand. And it was an Apatow produced movie. So I asked him specifically about because that was his most recent movie, and I did say, is it hard to tell jokes that suck, right? Like in the movie, right? And he said no. He said exactly what you said. He said, I know it's a bad joke and it was intentional here. And he said the worst thing was people actually laughed at that crap. And we told them, like, if it's not funny, don't fake the laugh. Because the studio audience obviously knew it was a movie and thought they were supposed to laugh at all the jokes.
No, they're supposed to react naturally.
They're supposed to be mad.
Well, Kent, too, I know really famous stand-ups have told stories before about, like, you reach such a level of fame where, like, you can just say, hello, good to be here. And people are like, ha, ha, ha. Like, they are just so ready and so eager to laugh. And so you wonder if that happened. Like, you guys got to chill out. We're making a movie. You don't have to laugh at
Tim Robinson, you see his face and you're like,
and you immediately start laughing. Yeah. Exactly. Had you seen this before?
Nope.
Or was that your first
time? That's why I picked it, because I'd not seen it. I had not seen it.
It's gotten memory hold just because we've done some other movies from that era. We did Tropic Thunder, a year ago or whatever it was. It gets lost for a viable reason. Why people don't really talk about it a whole lot anymore.
I don't know if I'll ever go back.
Also, Seth Rogen, this was the only second time. Seth Rogen, it's so crazy how young everybody is. Like, I know passage of time, like, but man, like you see him immediately and it's like, holy crap.
It is kind of fun that you can see how an actor looks and you can kind of date when the movie was, like Jonah Hill. He looks nothing like that.
And they make, I thought one of the things that was funny was that they're commenting on Rogen's weight, and because that was a conversation that was happening with him in real life, that people were like, I don't know if he's going to be as funny anymore. He's not as fat. Like, that was a real thing that people were saying. And so
what happened to Jonah Hill?
He lost a ton of weight. Yeah. And so I thought I actually kind of laughed at that stuff too. Funny people.